Tonight's session. I'm seeing quite a few new faces, so extra welcome. Tonight's session on the terror of fear and anxiety. This is the illness of the time, no? Fear and anxiety. But for those who are here for the first time, my name is Rona, and I've been connected with this organization for 25 plus years, meditating, studying, sharing with others this knowledge. And every Thursday night we have these sessions, which are open to the public with lectures, workshops, meditations. And so if you want to know more, and if you want to hear more, and if you want to be kept informed of what we do, on the reception desk there is a program, but there's also a mailing list if you want to be kept informed afterwards. So tonight's session, the terror of fear and anxiety. When we think of fear, maybe first of all, what is it that you think about? What is the first thing that comes to mind? It's, sorry? It doesn't register, it comes in the body, okay. Disease? Being trapped? A feeling of being trapped? Terrorists? Not knowing? Lack of control? Loss of safety? Feeling insecure? The unknown. The unknown. Yeah. Anything else that comes to mind? Nothing else? Irrational? Impending doom. Oh no, I remember there was this time when 2012, wasn't it? 2012 was this like kind of doomsday date. And at that time I was in the Dominican Republic, and we used to get phone calls from people saying, do you think the world is going to be destroyed in 2012? And one time even a girl of 13 years old called, and she's so scared and so anxious with these doomsday dates. Anything else comes to mind? 9/11. 9/11. Scared. Unsafe, she was saying already. Feel unsafe. One thing is useful to realize is that in itself the experience of fear is a useful one. In nature, this mechanism for fear exists to protect you. If there are some animals, biologists say there are some animals who don't have this gene of fear. And there are some, some type of mice, they don't have that gene, and so they go straight into the arms of the cat. And then they are no more. When they do experiments with those animals, then they see that if there is not the emotion of fear, then there is no behavior to keep at least the body safe. So in itself, fear is a useful emotion. But, there is a big but. Now, there are many occasions where it is useless to have fear. And there are many occasions where fear might not at all be the appropriate emotion to have. And that is what we're going to explore today, because at least if we could diminish the instances in which we are experiencing fear, there might be a lot more internally that we can open up for other things. If in a certain situation, say a country uses all or lots of its resources for the military because they're not safe for whatever reason, or for whatever reason they may think they're not safe, if they use lots of their resources for the military, then there are not enough resources for other areas that are also needed to be addressed. No? So education or health or the infrastructure or whatever. Resources are used for that. Now in the same way, if we live in a state where there is maybe 50% or 60% or 70% anxiety or fear, then the physical, the bodily resources are used for that emotion. Now what do you physically feel when you are scared and anxious? The body speeds up, the metabolism speeds up, your heartbeat speeds up, your breathing becomes shallow. There are many other things that happen. So physical resources and physical energy is used in that emotion. But what about your mind? If there is fear and panic, what happens with your mind? You become confused. Chemically, things changes. Can you sit down and reflect deeply on what clear decision to take when you are scared? No. Can you think deeply of some creative project? Yeah. So what happens with your mind when you are in fear or in anxiety? Can you sit down and think of some creative project that you have to embark on? No. Yeah. Often you get paralyzed. You can't think clearly. Mm-hmm. So creativity on how to get away from that situation. Maybe creative ideas on how to survive. Yeah. Coping. Yeah. Yeah. So when your resources, your physical resources, your mental resources, your emotional resources are used for that fear, they cannot be used for other things. And so, and maybe that is not the purpose of life, no? To just be anxious and and try to cope with that anxiety or try to cope with that fear. Maybe we have so many other resources and life is meant to express those resources or to use those resources. Now, apart from this fear, in some situations, may be a useful tool, but in many situations it might not at all be necessary. And there are two things that are useful to explore in this area, and this is one of them is association. We say, for example, a child, as a small child, playing with a dog, and then the dog bites, for whatever reason bites. The child becomes scared of that dog. But growing up, she may encounter many other dogs. And every time she sees a dog now, she's scared. And most dogs don't bite. Most dogs are very friendly. Most dogs love human beings and love to play. But every time she sees a dog, she's scared. And then maybe even dog-like animals, she also becomes scared. And maybe even people who have dogs. She doesn't want to befriend too much because she might be getting in touch with the dogs at some stage. And so one time a situation happened, but most of it can even be irrational. Because she might see that the dog is nice, she might see that the dog is friendly, but internally, because of that association with what happened, she's ruled by fear. Does this happen? We don't only do this with dogs. No. Sometimes some unpleasant person, something happened unpleasantly with one person. And even that same person we try to avoid then, which is a kind of a fear or an anxiety too. That person may have changed. You may have changed, but you're still carrying that impression from the past and are scared from it. Now, maybe you also start avoiding the friends of that person because maybe she has said something to them and maybe she is instigated. Then you're carrying that around. People who look like that person, you may think, oh, they might also be maybe not so nice. They may have the same ethnical background or the same position as her, and then we think, oh, they are all like that. Associated anxieties and fear. So those fears are all irrational and useless. Exactly, self-imposed. You understand this? And we can, what is the word? We can burden ourselves unnecessarily with so many things that are not needed. And someone said something at some certain day, and you carry it around in your head for 2 weeks and 3 weeks, and you see that person again, still that thing is there. Is he going to say the same thing again? The person might have forgotten already, even. These kinds of fears is what burden our mind unnecessarily. And how do you get rid of these associative fears? Or fears by association? I don't know how else to say it. Any idea? Meditate. Yeah, but because part of it or much of it is irrational, and much of it is what is it? It is unconscious instinctively. it is useful to bring it to the conscious mind and act differently, not avoiding the person, for example. So then a new habit pattern forms and new experiences. By not avoiding the dog, you will get the experience that at least this dog does not bite. And if you repeatedly experience that, then that goes in the subconscious. Pleasant experiences with dogs. Hmm? No, that is true. The dog can bite, but not all dogs bite, and it is not necessary to be scared of all dogs. And if I at least diminish those fears or that part of my fears that are not necessary, it already opens up a lot more resources internally. Some of the fears are real and needed, like I said. In certain situations it is useful, but many situations might absolutely not be useful. And if I can diminish those, I will already open up a lot more space inside. Mm. Mm. Yeah. 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 And you can also be cautious without being fearful. And you can see so many dogs, they are nice. And you're depriving yourself from those nice dogs because of that one or two who are aggressive. So that is one area. Can you see this within yourself? Associative fear? And is it how to say? Is it easy to pinpoint how to deal with it? No? Okay, let us look at a few of those fears that are fear by association. Can you name a few? You feel underproductive? What? This is not really associative fear. This is another area. Fear by association. Burned by fire. But that is a good fear, no? That is a good fear. In terms of we should not put our hand in fire. That is not very clever. Pursuing relationship. What exactly is the fear? Yeah, a girl said to dance. And what is the fear behind? The fear of rejection. The fear of rejection. Now, if this is by association, in the past there was a rejection. No? One person rejected. How many people are there in this world? So 20 people. How many people have actively rejected me? One. One. Two maybe. Is it rational? Is it intelligent? Is it wise to expect and to generate an inner anxiety of rejection from everyone? Is it rational and is it wise to expect that everyone embraces me? So I'm already halfway telling myself and putting it more on the conscious plate, that these fears are actually not very useful and maybe not even based on reality. Doing that, I'm helping myself to motivate myself to take another step. And if I take another step and this time I'm not rejected, what will it do? There is an impression, say this is the impression in my subconscious of rejection. And because I have rationalized it, I have looked at it with clarity, through the eyes of a sense of reality, I've motivated myself to again try. And I'm not rejected now. So this impression will become smaller and a new impression will be formed. So the reason for my fear will have become smaller because I just tried one more time. And more this becomes stronger, this one will disappear. Because you have motivated and tried something new. And that has given you a different experience. Yeah? But we can try, because we're not only having emotions, and our emotions are the result of our thinking patterns. So if I shift my thinking patterns around, I can start feeling more healthy feelings and more healthy emotions. And those healthy feelings and emotions might heal the unpleasant feelings and the unpleasant emotions that were there. But it starts with introducing a new thought, introducing, contrasting my belief systems that are limiting me. Because that is what they do. I am for some reason conditioned to think that everyone will reject me. Now the only way that I can shift that around is ask myself, is this real? Is this what is the word? Is this rational? Yeah. And that in itself doesn't take away my emotions of fear, but acting based on what I begin to see is more rational will give me different feelings and different emotions. And that might heal what is old. And even if it doesn't work for all the irrational fears that are there, but even if one or two are taken away, that is a big thing. No? It will open up a lot of resources internally. Yep. Just imagine if your mind would be free from anxiety and fear. What would that be like? That nothing or no one or no scene in life can cause you fear. How much how free would we be? And how much more would we not be able to enjoy the same scenes that are happening now? So it is useful for us to explore in our own mind which of the fears have a real base, are rational, and which are not, and come out of the ones that are not. It is connected, no? Yeah, worrying comes from fear, it comes from anxiety. Those are connected emotions. Fear by association. Now, there is another one. This is the associative fear, but there is another fear that happens, and that comes from identification. And this is also very useful to understand. And identification is connected to dependencies. There's quite a few more, but just to little bit grasp this thing. Say there is this chair. And there was a time I didn't know about this chair. But I come to know about this chair and I sit on it and I like the chair. I like it. I like it very much. And then what happens next? I want to always use it. And better yet, I want to own it. To put my name on it, and I want to be able to say, don't touch anybody else. No? Now just compare when I did not know about the chair even, and now that I know about the chair and I want to have it. What is the difference? Very good. That I was free. Now I'm not so free. And I see Michael looking at the chair and I think, oh. He also wants my chair. So Michael and I were good friends. But now I think, why is my friend after my chair? No? So the feelings of friendship are now mixed with feeling of not so friendly. No? So that is the first step in I start to identify with it. I start to want it. I start to want to have it. I want to start to feel I own it. Now, can I truly own this chair? Can I truly own this chair? No. Why? Because I can lose it. The moment I want to own it, I will be scared to lose it. The moment I want to be the only one to use it, I will have fear. So the moment I come into I want to own, there is already a fear created of losing. Whilst before I was free. In this state, the chair was a nice extra gift that I can use for a little while. Fine. But I can also be without it. Isn't it? But the moment I say my chair, then there is fear to lose it. It might break, it might get damaged, somebody else might take it. Anything can happen to it. So this this state of not owning anything, not having that attitude of owning, is a freer state. Isn't it? Understand? Fear of, yeah, definitely not anything and anyone. Moment I feel mine, that moment there is also the anxiety or the fear to lose. Whilst if I don't feel this is mine, this is like a gift for me to use. But if anyone else wants to use, fine also. This will not last forever, isn't it? So it is a gift of life for me to use. The moment we get into this mindset of own, we lose our peace. We lose our sense. So many things, experiment with this. It is not mine, it is a gift of life. I borrowed this from life for a temporary period of time. I look after it, I treat it well, but it is not mine, because sooner or later, even this body, is it yours? Is it yours? Not truly. It is a gift of nature. It is a gift of matter for you to use for 80, 100, 120 years if you treat it properly. But it belongs to nature, and that is where it will go back. But if I treat it as mine, then there is fear to lose. Now we not only enter into mine and ownership, we even start identifying, which is even deeper. I not only say this is my chair, I start saying I am important because of this chair. I am someone because of this chair. I have value, or I am worthy because of this chair. I look and the chair is here on a little stage, so I am more important than you. So we go in this whole ego trip. Then I'm even more vulnerable. Because then I feel if this chair is not there, I am nothing. And I am no one. So even the thought that this chair might one day not be there already puts me in a panic. Understand this dynamic? So association, fear out of association with some scene or with something of the past or with something that happened with someone. Fear because we have started to deeply be convinced that we can own things. And the moment I feel I own, there is fear to lose. And then the deeper one is we start identifying with things. And she was sharing this thing with job. This is what happens also. With job, often there is this identification. I am a designer. I am the doctor. I am. And so if something happens with the job, or if I am not being praised, or I get criticism, or I make a mistake, my sense of who I am is crushed. And even the thought of that is enough to create anxiety. Doesn't even have to happen. Just has to be a potential, a possibility. That already. gives fear and anxiety. Understand? These terrorists that are inside. Now, if we have a mind see, this is a picture of the mind. They might invent the camera soon to make pictures of your mind. Maybe the next generation phones. You will be able to make pictures of mind. If in this mind there are all different impressions, this person did not treat me right, rejected me, the dog bit me. One time I was thrown in water and I could not swim. There's another fear. And horses look like dogs, so I'm also scared of them. And but then there are the other ones. No, there is the identity of physical appearance, identifying with objects, identifying with position, identifying with ideas, identifying with a culture or a religion, identifying with a relationship. Mine. They are all insecure. They can all potentially be taken away. What will be the vibration in this mind? All the time anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. Even in our dreams. And we don't want this. We don't like to feel anxious. No, it also affects the body. After a while, this definitely will has its effect on the body also. Now, can we? These are like terrorists inside. These are like tendencies that undermine us. Now, what can we do against this? Can we do anything against it? This is where the knowledge of the soul becomes important. And this is what spirituality is all about. This is what meditation is all about. Is to become aware of your spiritual identity. And this is something to experiment with. Can this thing flip? No. If this is the physical world, in the physical world there is a body, isn't it? There's body. There are others. There are objects. Well, this is not very common in Manhattan, but it's easier to draw than a skyscraper. There are dollars, there is a job, there is a culture, there is nature, there is, I forgot cell phone. This is big identity these days. Big identity these days. And all those fears that we were drawing were impressions of this. Something here is mine, something here I identify here, something here I feel I own, and I think I can lose. But what do all these things here have in common? They're temporary. Very good. But there is an experiencer, the invisible being of consciousness, or the soul, or the spirit. There are many names for this being, the being who is experiencing everything, the one who is observing everything. And that being is invisible. And we use this image for it, light. And this being is a traveler. This being has completely different characteristics than matter. This being is non-physical, so cannot die. Matter changes. Consciousness doesn't end when matter ends. So the end of the body doesn't mean the end of the conscious being, the inner being or the soul. And this being is on a journey. So does this being truly own anything? So say, for example, someone comes to New York City on a journey. Does he say, oh, my Empire State Building? But he can still look at it and enjoy. No? This type of consciousness of observer, non-physical experiencer, who's on a journey, that kind of consciousness can create a sense of feeling secure. And a sense of all of this is an extra gift. I don't need to own it to enjoy the chair, for example. I don't need to identify it to enjoy it. I don't need to own the Empire State Building to walk by and enjoy the sights, especially at night when they have beautiful light show. But I don't need to own it, and I don't need to identify with it. And I can still enjoy and walk on, and then there's another scene and there's something else. So if we experiment with this type of consciousness, the real self is a soul. And all of this is an extra gift. I don't need anything. I don't own anything. But I can play the game and I can journey. And enjoy and share and express without wanting to own. If this becomes our mental positioning in life, lots of those identifications, identities or egos will become smaller, and some of them might even disappear. And if they're not there, what will happen? Free. If I don't identify with the job, I can still do the job. I don't describe myself, and I don't feel that my value is based on the job. Then job, I will still do my best, and I still use all my skills, but without anxiety. Yeah. Yeah. You are a spiritual being. And there is innate beauty in the spiritual being. That is another part. No? We have been anxious and living with these negative emotions for such a long time. They have as if started ruling our mind. and we have not been exposed and not experienced for a while more healthy feelings of being relaxed, of feeling free, of feeling calm, of feeling gratitude for this beautiful gift. Now we can endlessly complain, for example, about the subway system. We can endlessly complain. But the subway system is a beautiful system of transportation. And I did not do anything to contribute to it, but it is there for me to use. Liliana doesn't agree? So I can be grateful for this thing that transports me within 20 minutes to the other side of Manhattan. And there are so many things. And they say, what is the difference between an optimist and a pessimist, you know? The difference between an optimist and a pessimist. An optimist says, good morning, God. And a pessimist says, good God, morning. Same thing from a different angle. But we are so conditioned and we are almost hardwired in our identifications and anxieties. So explore. This is all we can do. Explore and experiment with this kind of consciousness. And the word we use for this kind of consciousness is soul consciousness, as opposed to bodily forms of consciousness and bodily identities. The being of consciousness, the being of light, is innately a being with higher nature, peaceful, pure, free, wise, playful, loving, joyful, playful being. This being comes to observe, to play. And another analogy for this is a football game, for example. What is it? Soccer game. If you come to play, what do you do with the ball? You kick the ball away, no? There are kind of rules, and you enjoy running after the ball, and when you get to the ball, you kick it away. These are the rules of the game, and you enjoy running, and you enjoy kicking the ball, and you enjoy outrunning others, and then finally maybe scoring, or if not, it is intercepted, and then it goes the other way, and you have to run after them. You just enjoy playing. And you don't get attached to the ball. If you get attached to the ball, what happens? You pick up the ball and you hold it. You spoil the game. No? So maybe that is what has happened to us. We have lost sight of the bigger picture. And we have lost sight of the real self. And we started to want to own and started to identify, and we get into this anxiety. And maybe we can diminish all of that, at least, by cultivating a more broader perspective. Any comments or questions? No, you can do all of that. You protect it, but you don't identify it. Identify with it. So say for example, if I had made that painting and everybody praises it, and I think, oh, I did that. What will happen the moment someone criticizes it? Then because I took that praise and I identified with it, I'm vulnerable now for someone who doesn't like it. And if that ego becomes really big, I will even be annoyed if someone walks past and even doesn't say anything. Yeah? And those who praised it today, tomorrow I will ask them again, what do you think of my painting? So the moment producing that art is fine. It is a beautiful expression. It can help others. It gives others nice experiences. But if I identify with it, I become vulnerable. And then the next day I will just sit here waiting for someone to come and praise that art, and whole day be anxious if someone will come and praise it or not. So I make myself vulnerable if I put my value in that. As an artist, I am much more than that painting. Anyway. But it doesn't mean that I just throw it out on the street for people to step on it. No. Or whatever. You do what you need to do to protect, but you don't make your emotional stability depend on that. Because then I'm in a trap. Then I'm in a trap and I will be forever anxious. Someone praises it, I will still be feeling tomorrow they have to praise it again. And tomorrow, or day after tomorrow again. Or I might think they're praising it, but do they really mean it? So you get in all these kind of mental tangles and stories that we get in. You do it, it is a gift. Yeah. With cooks with everything. Yeah. With the food. Yeah, somebody cook and ask everybody, how does it taste? Was it good? Was it nice? Yeah. Yeah. Personal, yeah. That ambivalence, I think, can be hard when you know something. When you may have the same thing with cooks. Like they make the food's not good. Send it out, and someone will like, this isn't good. Still be angry about it. Even though, you know. Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. And so this is an option to strengthen our sense of spiritual identity and emotionally be out of it while still playing the game. And just imagine how much more freedom inside there would be if we're not with all these burden of feelings and emotions, and how much more we could maybe even create and sustain. So more we come into this more, broader understanding of self, this more spiritual understanding of self, this more stable understanding of self as a higher being, a being with higher potential, a being that is here, and this is an extra gift. How much more could we not enjoy the journey and even do in the journey things that are of much more value? But it requires reminders, repeated reminding the self and experiencing the self as this being of light, which is what we practice in meditation and in these kinds of discussion. It is a reminder for me also. Any other comments, or should we do a meditation? Yeah? Okay. You have to push that. It is red? Yeah. Little more, little higher. Yeah, I think so. Okay, so just for a few moments, we allow the body to relax. And we bring our attention in this room here, in this moment. And we become aware of the present. And we become aware of this body and the bodily sensations. Aware of how the back touches the back of the chair. Relax the hands. And just train that capacity to be receptive and perceptive. Become aware of the heartbeat, for example, and how the heart pumps the blood through the body. Become aware of the breathing and how the air is pulled into the lungs on inhalation and pushed out on exhalation. Just raise your sense of awareness. And although the body is relaxed, we stay alert, but in a calm way. And I become aware of the one who is using this body. The one who is looking through the eyes, sitting as if behind the eyes. The one listening through the ears. The inner being. The soul. The being of consciousness. And I just pause a moment to kind of realize these two separate things, body and the soul, the one who is thinking and experiencing everything. And I can use this image of light, tiny star, to indicate the soul. Pure, free, being of light. In the center of the forehead, behind the eyes. A timeless being, the real self, the one who is a visitor, a traveler through time and space. Peaceful, innately. Whole of life is like a gift. This body is a precious gift and vehicle. And I try and remember that innate nature of the self, that almost childlike nature of free, of carefree, playful, innocent, non-judgmental, appreciating, and the whole drama of life is like a play. There are others, there are objects, there are all kinds of scenes and positions. They're all extra. The real self is a pure, free, living, conscious, peaceful soul. And there are different roles that we play out. They come and go. I don't need to identify. The real self is the eternal, immortal, divine being of light. And everything else is extra. More I become aware of this, more I become receptive to this invisible conscious self, more I also realize that others are also souls. And in this state of consciousness, it also becomes more easy to experience that innate higher nature and the existence of the Supreme. And as we gradually come to the end of this inner exploration, we aim to stay with this lightness, and we aim to repeatedly remind ourselves of who we truly are. Thank you. Om Shanti. So maybe as homework, I won't check, but you can check for yourself. If you truly want to get rid of these inner terrorists, these thieves inside, these villains inside, take 2 times in the day. Best is when you wake up and before you go to bed. 5 to 10 minutes to come back to this soul awareness and to emerge that state of mind where, as if separate from this whole drama of life and all this, the real innate self, and empower that and emerge that experience. And with that fullness and those more refined feelings, you play the game. And the other homework, so 2 times a day, 10 minutes. If you can do longer, fine. But begin with 10 minutes. And the other thing is, during the day, from time to time, remind yourself that we cannot truly own anything. Everything is a gift. It is temporary and passing. Appreciate it as a gift. But it is an illusion to get sucked into this thing of ownership. And that feeling of ownership creates lots of insecurity and stress and worries. Even with children, no? We think, my children. Are they truly my children? They are souls also. They are on their own journey. And this part of the journey we are together. They are children of life. Let me be grateful that we share part of our journeys together. But they are not mine. Not only children, but with anyone. Play with this. You can appreciate, you can honor and respect and enjoy and learn and share. But don't get into mine. Play with this homework. See if the your offense works. Okay, thank you. Nice attention today. Always, but today was extra attention. The sisters will give you some fresh baked apple cake with made in a meditative consciousness. So that is the secret ingredient to attack the terrorists. And if you would want to be informed, then there is the mailing list at reception. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.